Good afternoon, everyone. My PhD topic is about the effects of tobacco products on oral tissues, and I would like to present my 6 months progress. So, my name is Orsolya Vámos. I'm a PhD student and a second-year resident at the Department of Prosthodontics at Semmelweis University. My vision is to spread awareness of the harmful effect of tobacco products, and I would like to promote prevention and cessation. And to achieve this, my mission is to make a comparison on the effects of traditional and alternative tobacco products. So here you can see the list of my specific goals. I started the first project on September and the second one in December. So let's move on to my first project, which is a systematic review and meta-analysis about the investigation of the effect of tobacco products on peri-implant tissues. So peri-implant diseases are defined as inflammatory regions of the surrounding peri-implant tissues. Peri-implant mucositis involves the mucosa only, while peri-implantitis involves the mucosa and the underlying bone structure. If these are not treated properly, patients can lose implants. So we know that smoking is one of the main risk factors of peri-implant diseases, and there are numerous studies that have investigated this, but there are newly appeared alternative tobacco products, for example, electronic cigarette, water pipe, and smokeless tobacco, and there is a lack of evidence about them. So for the clinical question, we want to know if there is a difference in peri-implant health status of different types of tobacco product users compared to non-smokers. We want to examine patients with dental implants who smoke some kind of tobacco product, and we want to compare them to non-smokers. Our primary outcome is the peri-implant crestal bone loss in millimeter, and the secondary outcome are the clinical parameters and the cytokine levels. So our hypothesis is that the different types of tobacco product users have worse clinical, radiographic, and immunological peri-implant parameters compared to non-smokers. And why is it important? So we know that smoking is one of the main risk factors of peri-implantitis, and with this comparison, we want to make an education material for community dentistry. Here you can see the systematic search. It was conducted in 4 databases in this November with this search key. So here you can see the flowchart of the selection. After the full text selection, we had 39 eligible articles. Our outcome measures were mean and standard deviation in all outcomes, and we managed to finish all the analysis. Altogether, we had 10 outcomes, but because of the shortage in time, I would like to present only 2 of them. So our primary outcome is the marginal bone loss. Here you can see the network. So in the network, the little dots mean the number of studies in each group, and the little lines here are the direct comparisons. So in this network, we included 25 eligible articles, and there were 6 multi-arm studies, and we managed to make 8 direct comparisons out of the 10 possible ones. So here you can see the rankogram of the results. Here in the rankogram, the lighter color indicates higher ranking, which is associated with smaller outcome values. So this means that non-smokers presented the smallest marginal bone loss, so they were ranked on the first place, and they were followed by electronic cigarette users, while smokeless tobacco users were ranked on the 5th place because they presented the biggest marginal bone loss. Our next figure is the heat plot. In this heat plot, the relative differences between each groups are presented, and the darker color means a bigger difference. So you can see that when we compared the traditional cigarette, water pipe, and smokeless tobacco to the non-smoker group, we experienced differences which were significant both clinically and statistically. So they are indicated with this asterisk. So let's move on to the second outcome, which is the probing pocket depth. We included 18 articles in this comparison, and so 2 of them were multi-arm studies, and we managed to do 7 direct comparisons out of the 10 possible ones. So here on the rankogram, you can see that also non-smokers presented the smallest probing pocket depths, followed by the electronic cigarette users, while the smokeless tobacco users were ranked on the 5th place. And again, on the heat plot, we experienced statistical significant differences with the traditional cigarette, waterpipe, and smokeless tobacco group compared to the non-smoker group. So what are the strengths and the limitations of this meta-analysis? So as far as we know, this is the first analysis comparing 4 tobacco products and non-smokers, and we managed to make direct comparisons between most groups, and we evaluated a variety of outcomes. But we had observational studies in this analysis, and in some network nodes and edges, there were a small number of studies. And also, there were high heterogeneity in patient characteristics, for example, the smoking habits and the oral hygiene. So in conclusion, we can say that non-smokers presented the best peri-implant parameters, and any type of tobacco product comprised peri-implant health. So what are the implications for practice? We should raise awareness of the harmful effect of peri-implant health, so smoking on peri-implant health, and we should dispel the misbelief that alternative tobacco products are less harmful. And as for the implication for research, we need more multi-arm studies for direct comparison and greater transparency of the confounding factors, for example, the smoking habit and the oral hygiene. So here you can see the progress of my project. Currently, I am working on my manuscript. I have finished the methods part, and currently I am working on the results. And here you can see the target journals. So let's move on to my second topic, which is also a systematic review and meta-analysis about the impact of smoking status and electronic cigarette use on non-surgical periodontal therapy. So periodontal disease comprises gingivitis and periodontitis, and it is the 11th most prevalent condition in the world and a major cause of tooth loss. So subgingival debridement can be an effective treatment in reducing probing pocket depths and improving the clinical attachment level. So our aim is to investigate the effect of traditional and electronic cigarette use on clinical outcomes of non-surgical periodontal therapy compared to non-smokers. As our clinical question, we want to know if smoking traditional or electronic cigarettes have a negative effect on clinical outcomes of non-surgical periodontal therapy compared to non-smokers. So we want to examine patients with periodontitis undergoing non-surgical periodontal therapy who smoke either traditional cigarette or electronic cigarette, and we want to compare them to non-smokers. And the outcomes are the clinical parameters. So for the hypothesis, smoking traditional or electronic cigarettes has a negative effect on clinical outcomes of non-surgical periodontal therapy compared to non-smokers. And again, with this comparison, we want to make a valuable education material for community dentistry. So we conducted our systematic search in 4 databases with this search key. And with my selection pair, we are currently doing the title abstract selection. So here you can see an overview of my project. I want to finish my first project in May and the second one in September. And I would like to thank you for your attention with the quote by Nilsson: "Successful people are not gifted, they just work hard and succeed on purpose."
What types of smokeless methods have you investigated?
Smokeless?
Yep.
So actually there are several types of smokeless tobacco. It is mostly common in India. So there are the...
Or in Sweden, so that's why I'm
Sweden,
asking, what types have you investigated or involved in your study?
So there are the snus and also the gutka.
So you have investigated all of those?
Yeah, so different types.
Because I was thinking about snus and the place of the
Yeah,
placement and the place of
methods are the
implantation.
same. Yeah, so the methods are the same, that they place these little pockets here in the vestibule, but for example, in gutka there is a leaf pocket, while in snus there is like a paper. So, but the method is the same. So.
Yeah, but the placement of the packet and the place of the implantation makes sense, most likely.
Yeah.
So there are some kind of bias in your studies, so you should be careful when you analyze those.
Thank you for the presentation. My question is that, are you planning to take into consideration the dosage of any kind of smoking regarding your second project?
Yeah, thank you for your question. So actually, we are planning to do a sensitivity analysis on this because, of course, these factors can affect the results. So actually, we are planning to divide the patients who were only smoking for less than 5 years and patients who were smoking, for example, more than 10 years. And we want to do separate networks to see if the differences are, so the results are different. And we actually already made sensitivity analysis on the maintenance control of the patients, because I think the most important factor to analyze is the oral hygiene. So we separated those studies in which patients had regular, like annual or biannual maintenance control, and studies where there were no maintenance. So.
Thank you.
There was another question. Okay. Actually, I just have learned from a complex PhD exam, there are plenty of smokers who start to use the electric cigarette to stop smoking. I mean, not to stop, but stop smoking. And they used to use both methods parallelly, actually, many of them. And finally, some of them switch back to the traditional cigarette. So can you deal with those patients in your studies?
Yeah, thank you for your question. So we actually excluded dual smokers. Yep. So we included only those who were exclusively using either traditional cigarette or electronic cigarette, and actually so former smokers were also excluded.
And I'm sure you are dealing with the age, because it's much more popular in young.
So electronic cigarettes are popular in the younger population, while traditional cigarettes are a little older population. But we are with the statisticians, we are planning to do this analysis on the age also.
It must have been a very nice analysis because of the systemic diseases, oral hygiene, age,
so as far as the
place of implant, quality of bone. So
but we excluded also those studies where the patients had any kind of systemic diseases. So.
Okay, thank you. The time is over. Thank you.